What's going on, guys? It's HawkWX, and today I'm going to be talking about which RLCS 2026 teams I think upgraded this offseason, side-graded this offseason, and downgraded this offseason. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now let's get into the video. To begin today's video, we're going to start by covering our trusty, old reliable heads-up slide. In this slideshow, I will be covering 16 teams and discussing whether or not I think they upgraded, side-graded, or downgraded heading into the RLCS 2026 season, basing on how they performed or looked during the RLCS 2025 season. When I say teams, I mean organizations, so I tried to cover every major organization who had some sort of roster move this offseason while doing this. So basically, if a team did not change, like if a major team like NRG, for example, who didn't have a roster change, they're not going to be in this video. But basically, every major organization that you can think of who had a roster change, they're going to be in this video. And also, guys, this is not a power rankings video. This is strictly if I think, like I said, if they upgraded, side-graded, or downgraded this offseason. But yeah, anyway, let's get into number 16 here. Our first team on the list, it's Virtus.pro, maybe. Don't know if this is going to be Virtus.pro. I just put this down because they were Virtus.pro last season. At least 2/3 of this roster was. It was Catalysm, Sphinx, and Sosa last season making up Virtus.pro. They lose Sosa, they get Kevin. So I put Virtus.pro maybe. No idea if it'll actually be them, but I just did it for the sake of the video. But anyway, they're number 16. I have them rated as the worst on this list in terms of worst offseason. So main reasoning, in terms of whether this is an upgrade or downgrade from their 2025 roster, I see this as a downgrade. They will make every major out of APAC. I have no doubt about that. And could be somewhat dangerous at land still. Losing Sosa hurts, at least in my opinion. No offense to Kevin. I think Kevin's very good, but he's just not quite on that same level as Sosa in my eyes. We'll see though. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. Change rating, I give it a downgrade. All right, now moving on to number 15, we have Team BDS. And as you can see, I have unlikely next to this, not even maybe, because I think this probably won't be BDS's roster. BDS might not even have a roster next season in Rocket League. I honestly have no idea. But for now, just because this was 2/3 of the BDS roster, I'm putting it for the sake of this video just to make things easier. Probably won't be BDS's roster, we'll just have to see. But anyway, this is a Chronic, Nico, and Juk. Main reasoning, this could arguably be a side grade. Also, I don't know if that's how you say Juk's name. I just say Juk, I say Juk, I say Juke. I don't know. But anyway, whatever I say, that's just how I say it. Main reasoning, this could arguably be a side grade or even an upgrade by the time things are said and done this season, but I see this as a downgrade for now. I think Matcher was very good last season on the BDS roster, and I would say Radosin and Eugen picked him up for good reason. So yeah, Radosin and Eugen picked up Matcher. I think Radosin and Eugen are probably the core duo there, and I think that them picking up Matcher says something about how good Matcher probably is. But anyway, Chronic is definitely still very good at the game, but we have not seen him do much since Liquid, and honestly, seeing him join this young duo surprised me because it seemed like he was not joining super serious teams anymore. Change rating, I give this a downgrade. So basically, guys, for now, I just don't see a Chronic being as good of a player as Matcher, but it's definitely possible, especially if a Chronic starts grinding the game again. He has all the potential in the world. He's very mechanical no matter what, even still. This roster could be better than last season's BDS roster if they were to sign this team. And as of right now, either way, I do think that Matcher is a better overall player than a Chronic. Now, guys, we're going to move on to number 14. I'm not even clicking it yet because this is going to surprise a lot of people. Actually, it shouldn't surprise anybody. Okay, at first, when you see it, it might surprise you. But once I read the main points, I don't think it'll surprise you that much. But anyway, number 14. Karmine Corp. We have Atao, Juicy, and Vatira. This is no disrespect to Juicy. You guys just have to listen to this slide, okay? Think about it in terms of upgrading, side grading, and downgrading. You can't deny, first of all, that losing Drawley for Juicy is a downgrade. But anyway, just let me read the slide, okay? Before you go down in the comments and attack me, can't speak French anyway, so I don't even care. Just before you attack me, just listen to my main reasoning, okay? By the way, I had them power ranked number 5. I had them as the 3rd best chance of winning majors this season. I think this team's very good. But in terms of upgrading, downgrading, and side grading, big downgrade in my eyes. But anyway, for a lot of different reasons, not just because of losing Drawley, and I'll get to that here in a second. My main reasoning, having them here might seem insane, but they just lost Drawley and Farah. They just lost their coach, who won a world championship with Vitality, who had Karmine Corp looking insane the last couple seasons. Unfortunately, Karmine Corp was never able to win a world championship or anything with Farah, but they did win multiple regionals. They won majors. They were a very good team with Farah. A lot of people would have had Karmine Corp as their favorite heading into each tournament over the last couple seasons. So yeah, not only do I think losing Drawley hurts, but I think losing Farah hurts a lot too. This list is a measure of whether or not given teams specific roster changes seem to be a downgrade from last season, and Juicy for Drawley, no offense to Juicy, is a considerable downgrade, at least in my eyes. Juicy is very good, but not as good as Drawley. I think losing Farah hurts them too, but Extra will also be a great coach, I think. That's the thing. They're getting Extra. He's a world champion as well. Probably going to be fine. I'm just saying, at least at first, I think it's going to hurt losing Farah. I think Farah's a great coach. Obviously, Drawley, arguably the best player in the world at times, if not the best player in the world. Losing him hurts too. It's just the way it is. This does not mean that I think KC will be the 14th best team this season. Do not think that when you see this. I have them power ranked at 5 in the world, and I put them at number 3 in the world for chances to win a major. I simply think Juicy for Drawley is a downgrade. Good thing I do not speak French. I basically already said all that, I guess. But anyway, change rating, downgrade. Just the way I see things for now with Karmine Corp. I still think they're one of the best rosters in the world, but yeah, in terms of upgrade, downgrade, side grade, pretty clear downgrade to me. But anyway, number 13, we have MIBR. This is the Made in Brazil roster. They went to Worlds through the last chance qualifier. But anyway, this is rumored to be Astromech, Razeable, and Sad. My main reasoning for this one, in my opinion, getting rid of Brad and Drops for Astromech and Sad is a very lateral move. Like when I see Brad and Drops on paper and I see Astromech and Sad on paper, even when you look at their Liquipedia results, it's almost a complete like lateral move. I don't know. I don't think they upgraded. I don't think they downgraded. As you can see at the bottom there, my change rating for them is a side grade. But yeah, I would assume this team will be the Sam number 3 seed. Don't see them being better than Secret. Don't see them being better than Furia. But I do see them being a pretty strong South American 3 seed. This team might have a chance to make majors, but I think it's unlikely when Secret and Furia are there. Probably will have a stable and relatively high floor, but I personally do not think they'll have a very high ceiling. My change rating, as I already said, side grade. Again, guys, don't think this is a power ranking. I do not think MIBR is a better team than Karmine Corp. I just think that they side graded in terms of what they did for their roster compared to 2025. I think they downgraded. Therefore, Karmine Corp is behind MIBR in this case. Anyway, moving on to number 12, we have Ninjas in Pyjamas. This is a maybe, not sure if this is going to be the NIP roster, but this is what's been rumored. CRR, Jorez, and Oli. My main reasoning, this is one of the most interesting rumored rosters in the world, at least in my opinion. These are 3 players who I very highly believe in, just have to see how they'll work together. Could see them make majors out of EU, do not see them being worse than 6th or so in EU. If we look at in the entirety of last season's results for NIP in 2025, this new roster does not have to do a lot to surpass what the 2025 team did. The one thing that will be tough to surpass that saved NIP's 2025 season from being a failure was getting Redocin and making top 8 at Worlds. If you guys remember last season NIP, before they got Redocin, when they had Itachi, it was rough. Things were really rough. They couldn't beat anybody at the top of EU. They couldn't make majors out of EU. They went to the last chance qualifier with Redocin, and they got top 8 at Worlds by beating Vitality. So very good Worlds for them in my opinion. But other than that, they didn't have that great of a season. So really for CR, Jorez, and Oli, it's not that hard for them to theoretically at least do the same or even outperform last season's NIP roster. But anyway, due to all these things, I'm not 100% sure if I should call this move an upgrade, and I definitely cannot call it a downgrade. Change rating, side grade. All right, now moving on to number 11, we have Team Secret. This is Drafinho, KV1, and Mata. My main reasoning, Team Secret finished the season as the number 1 team out of South America, and they still have 2/3 of the same players from that roster. I could see Secret being better than Furia. In fact, I almost expect it, but I cannot justify putting them at number 1 quite yet. The only reason I say that, Team Secret absolutely was the best team in South America to finish the season, I think. At least when you base on LAN results, they were completely outdoing Furia in the last few events. But Furia did own Secret back in the South American region, so only because of that, I'm still going to have Furia a little bit ahead of Secret, at least in the South American region. But I really do want to say that I think Team Secret will be better, even with Swift getting replaced by Drafinho. I seriously think that's a pretty lateral move. I think there's an argument that Drafinho is actually a more consistent player overall than Swift. And I think KV1 and Mata don't get enough respect for how good of players they are in contributing to the successes that Secret did have at LAN last season. So yeah, I am very tempted to put Secret as the number 1 team in South America right now. I just can't quite do it because of how much Furia does own Secret back in Sam most of the time. But anyway, they lost Swift, but I think Drafinho is great. Change rating, side grade. Now at number 10, it only makes sense. I have Furia, lost Swift, and Yan. My main reasoning, I do not like what I saw from Yan and lost after Birmingham last season. Just a full downhill slide for them the whole season after Birmingham. Don't know what happened. They looked really good at Birmingham, and then it was just straight down the crapper. But anyway, I'm not confident that Swift can fix their problems. I'm not confident that Swift is even an upgrade from Drafinho. Swift is an incredible player, guys, but I think that like Drafinho and Swift are basically in the same tier of player. This team has so much talent on paper. We know what they can do. Will they actually get back to the level we know they can be at? That is the question with Furia. We don't know. Even though Secret finished the season better, Furia did own them regionally, so I have them 1 spot ahead for now as far as the roster change rating goes. The change rating, I give Furia, side grade. But anyway, now we're going to move on to number 9, and we have SpaceStation Gaming. You might be surprised to not see them this high, but I do really think that last season's SpaceStation roster was very good. So that's why I have this at number 9. As not super high, not even really an upgrade. I'll just say it right now. I have them as a side grade, and I'll get through my main reasoning here to hopefully help clarify why I have that as being a side grade. But anyway, yeah, SpaceStation Gaming, Chronic Diaz reveal. My main reasoning, insanely talented team on paper. We should see them at every major and Worlds, but I do see this as a side grade from last season's SSG roster for now. This new SSG roster has the pieces to be better than the old SSG roster. I really do think that. I think that they have the pieces to be better, but I am not sure if they will end up actually being better or not, which you might think that might sound crazy, but honestly, last season's SpaceStation roster did finish very well. They were almost beating Vitality. They choked that series against Vitality at Worlds. They did well at Worlds. They made top 8 at Worlds still. I think they finished the season really strong, so it's pretty tough for me to say like Chronic, Diaz, and Reveal are just automatically going to be better than last season's SpaceStation team. Do I think that they definitely have the pieces to do it? For sure. But I don't feel confident in betting on that for some reason, so I just have side grade for now, but I could 100% see this being an upgrade. No way do I see this being a downgrade. But anyway, last season's SSG roster was very talented, just like this new roster, and they placed decently at the last couple events and played well. This new roster should be able to keep pace with those results or outperform them, at least in my opinion. The change rating I give them, as I already said, side grade. Now moving on to number 8, we have FUT Esports. This is a maybe you see there because this isn't confirmed. This is rumored right now. We don't even know if this is going to end up being a trio, but this is rumored currently. FUT Esports, as you know from last season, if you watched RLCS at all, which you probably did, I'm almost going to guarantee if you're watching this video, no chance you don't watch RLCS because it would be completely pointless. You wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. But anyway, FUT Esports, they had like VK Salen, don't even remember the other 2 players, but basically no one really liked them because they were all EU players, or so they were all Spanish players, I think, from Europe. And they were playing in SSA, basically just sucking up their major spot no matter what, because they were just better than all the other players in SSA, which isn't fair to the SSA region. So this is just automatically an upgrade in that sense, in the fact that this is just a more, I guess, ethical roster, if you want to put it that way, as they'd be competing in NA with players from NA. It's just more fair. I don't know, just a more ethical roster, I guess. And on top of that, their players are more talented straight up than the players they had last season. Like, even though FUT Esports was making lands last season, and even though this roster might not make lands from NA, just because NA will have 4 teams that are probably honestly very good this season that make every land, this FUT Esports team, Cheese, Frosty, and Sosa, if they played 10 times against last season's FUT roster, I'd expect this roster to win 8 out of 10 times. This is an all-around better roster than last season's FUT team. So I have them here. But anyway, number 8, FUT Esports, with the maybe again, because this is the rumored roster. Cheese, Frosty, and Sosa. I actually do think this would be a really cool roster to see. But anyway, main reasoning, an upgrade in every single way from their old roster. I think there's a world where this roster makes majors out of NA, although I do think it's unlikely. This would probably be the 5th or 6th best team in NA if this does end up being a team. This is an all-around more talented roster than their old one. This team sounds pretty good on paper even. Change rating, upgrade. It's our first roster to see the upgrade rating. Moving on to number 7 now. We have Team Vitality. You might be surprised that I don't have them higher than this, but I have my reasoning for that. And first of all, to start out by saying, I just don't think that Stizzy is that big of an upgrade to Monkey Moon. I don't know why everyone thinks it is. I think that you're going to see Monkey Moon play on Twisted Minds this season and have a phenomenal season. Or at least a good season. I just don't know why it's this big, like, narrative going around that Monkey Moon is this big shitter now. But anyway, number 7, Team Vitality, Exotic, Stizzy, Zen. Main reasoning, I do think Stizzy coming in for Monkey Moon will benefit Zen and Exotic. Exotic and Monkey Moon played a very similar role, and Zen needed someone else who can effectively create offense, and I do see Stizzy resolving those issues. Even though this can be called an upgrade, I am not sure that I see this roster necessarily outperforming last season's Vitality team with Monkey Moon, and I do not think this is that big of an upgrade. I only think this is an upgrade in the sense that Vitality will have more offensive firepower this season, at least they should. I don't see it as an upgrade in the sense that, like, Stizzy's better than Monkey Moon, because I don't think that. I genuinely would rather have Monkey Moon on my team than Stizzy. I think Stizzy's phenomenal, but I think when Monkey Moon's playing well, he can still tap into S tier borderline. Like, I really do think that. But anyway, this should be a very good team. Change rating, upgrade. Can't wait to get flamed by the Vitality Ultras in the comments. But anyway, moving on to number 6 now. Good thing I don't speak French once again. But anyway, moving on to number 6, we have Team Falcons. This is Drawley, Kaliers, and Ruwas. You might be surprised. Why do you have a team that just got Drawley, arguably the number 1 player in the world, at number 6? Is it that big of an upgrade? Like, really, when you think about it? I think that Drawley is not that big of an upgrade from TRK. You're comparing S tier to S tier at that point. You're comparing TRK and Drawley, which I think are 2 S tier players. How can I sit here and be like, yeah, that's a crazy upgrade, man. Like, Drawley's gonna come in. They just got 2nd at Worlds. Now they're gonna go and just win Worlds. Like, it's just, that's the thing. Falcons won a major last season. They got 2nd at Worlds. They lost to NRG, who was playing the best Rocket League we've ever seen them play. It's just not fair to TRK, first of all, to say that Drawley's gonna come in and that's just gonna be an upgrade. And it's also just kind of crazy to say. Like, a team that performed that well last season saying that Drawley's gonna come in and just suddenly make them, like literally the only way up for them would be winning everything. So for me to sit here and say, like, it's a bigger upgrade than other rosters that I have on this list, I can't do it. Because yes, I do think it's an upgrade, but I don't think it's that big of an upgrade. But anyway, Team Falcons, Drawley, Kaliers, Ruwas. Main reasoning, I know this is arguably the best roster in the world, but in terms of upgrades, this is not that big of an upgrade, like I was just saying. Last season's Falcons team won a major and got 2nd at Worlds, and TRK is an S tier player when he's playing well. While Drawley is arguably the best player in the world, I do not see him bringing Falcons' ceiling up very much higher than it already was with TRK. Their ceiling was incredible. Probably the best offense in the world, almost undeniably when they were playing well. I just don't see Drawley raising their ceiling that much higher than what TRK had it at. But anyway, my change rating for this team is an upgrade. It's undeniably an upgrade. Yes, Drawley is a better player than TRK probably, but literally we're comparing S tier to S tier. It's like saying something like Beast Mode's better than Daniel or Daniel's better than Atomic, something like that. It's just, you're comparing S tier to S tier at that point. It really doesn't make a difference which player you have on your team. You are going to be a tremendous team when all 3 players on your roster are S tier already. And then you switch out one of those S tier players for another S tier player. It's just not like that big of an upgrade. At that point, it's almost lateral. But it's definitely a slight upgrade to me, so I have to put it here. Number 5, GeeKay Esports. This might surprise you guys that I have them so far up here, but I do really like this GeeKay roster on paper. I don't know how they're going to play together, but in terms of what I see on paper, I'm loving it. Anyway, number 5, GeeKay Esports. Apparently Jack, Joyo, and Seiko. My main reasoning, I really liked last season's GeeKay roster, and I think they were very good, but I think this new roster is even better. Last season, GeeKay lacked consistency, but Seiko and Appjack are the epitome of consistency. I know that a lot of people will sit there and say Seiko didn't have that good of a season last season. Maybe not. Definitely not for his standards, but I think he still played very consistently, and I think that Appjack, almost every single time, you know exactly what you're going to get from him, and that's what you want on your team, and that's what I think GeeKay needed. Even though they were very good last season, it just seemed like they were very peaky to me. Like, they would have some games where, like, literally they would win a regional in Europe, beating K Corp, and then they'd have other times where they would just kind of flop out. They would never play badly, I guess, but it was never... like, you just didn't know if you were going to get, like, this team can beat anybody, or if you were going to get, like, oh, they just got 4-0'd by NRG at Worlds. Like, you just didn't know. I think getting Appjack is going to help them out with that. Just going to raise their ceiling more. Same with Seiko. I see this roster having a very high floor and very high ceiling. I could see this team win a major, and that is not something I can really say I could see the old GeeKay roster doing. I know they got second at Esports World Cup last season, but in terms of, like, actual majors and, like, Worlds and stuff, I wouldn't have sat there and been like, even in terms of dark horse, I wouldn't have been like, yeah, GeeKay can do that. Like, maybe as a dark horse, I guess, but I just wouldn't have told you I see it. But I can see it with this roster. I could see this roster winning a major, or maybe even Worlds if they peaked. I don't think it's impossible. Change rating, upgrade. Now we're gonna move into number 4. This might surprise you guys, but I am very high on this player. I think he's the most underrated player in the world potentially. We're talking about Gen.G here. Justin, Rise, and MIBR. They just got Rise. I think that Rise might be the most underrated player in the world. I have a lot of reasons for that, but I'll read my main reasoning first before I talk about Rise a little bit. So here we go. Rise seems like the perfect player for Justin and MIBR to have on their team. I do think Rise is an all-around better player than Cheese, but I still think Cheese is incredibly talented and deserves to be at majors. Rise is always incredible on LAN. He can legitimately be one of the best players in the world when he's playing well, and I think some people forget that. I do genuinely think that Rise can still almost tap into legitimately that S tier category when he's playing as well as he possibly can. I could see this roster being way better than people expect. Change rating, upgrade. So guys, this is an upgrade, side grade, downgrade roster. Look at last season's Gen.G roster to now. In terms of how big getting Rise could be for Gen.G, I think it's worth putting them at number 4 on this list. I think Cheese is incredible, but I think that Rise lifts them from being a team that could, like, make top 8 potentially at majors, and that probably being their ceiling, to seriously, if Gen.G peaked and made, like, I'm not even kidding, like, if they made like a top 4 or a top 6, I don't think it would be that crazy now. I know you guys see me sitting here and saying that and you're just like, yeah, this guy's crazy, but I seriously don't think it's impossible. I still think Justin's extremely good at the game. I think he was Gen.G's best player at LAN last season. I think that MIBR is insane at the game. I think he's getting more consistent at LAN, and that's all that matters, and he's always good online. And then I think Rise is Rise. He was good on Karmine Corp. He made the grand finals with BDS. He's just every roster that guy's ever joined, he's made better. Twisted Minds, that roster would not have been as good. Don't care what anybody says, wouldn't have been as good without Rise. I mean, literally every single roster that Rise joins gets better. That means that Gen.G, a roster who was always so close to making top 8 last season at majors, probably will make a top 8 at some point this season. And by the time you make top 8, anything can happen. I think this is a way bigger pickup for Gen.G than people think. In fact, I could see Gen.G being potentially the 3rd or maybe even 2nd best team in NA this season. I would still put them at 4th in my power rankings for NA, but I could see a world where Gen.G is better than Shopify and SpaceStation depending on how they play together. I really do think it's possible. Would I predict it? No. Do I think it's possible though? Yes. I seriously just think Rise is so good, man. I know that a lot of people say that he just wasn't that good last season. I don't know why people say that, but I think that Rise is a very good player. I think you put him with 2 mechanical players and 2 very good players, and another consistent LAN player like Justin, like a player who always plays good on LAN. It sounds crazy to say for Gen.G, but I think it's a recipe for success for them on LAN. And I think online they're going to be dangerous too. My question is, are they going to be able to beat like the Karmines, the Falcons, the Vitalities, the NRGs, the Shopifys probably, the Twisted Minds? I don't know. But do I think they're going to beat the teams below them every single time? Yeah, I do. They should. I just think that Rise brings them that level. He just raises their floor, he raises their ceiling. I think Gen.G is going to be a dangerous team this season. But I really do think that Rise coming in for Cheese is huge for Gen.G. And it's not even because Cheese is a bad player. I just think Rise, in my mind, he fits MIBR and Justin so well. Just with what he does for rosters and what he's historically done for rosters, I think it's just going to be a really good fit on Gen.G having Rise there. Number 3, Gentlemates Alpine. This might seem surprising to you guys, but I really do think this is a big upgrade from last season's Gentlemates roster. This is Archie, Nas, and Oski. My main reasoning, hopefully Nas and Oski will continue to play how they were at Worlds, otherwise this will be totally wrong. Almost no matter what. When looking at last season's Mates squad, this should be an upgrade. All last season Mates team did was make the Raleigh Major, and I do think this new roster should definitely make every major out of EU. I really do think that. I think this roster will be at every major this season. Insane team on paper. Change rating, I give them an upgrade. So yeah, guys, last season's Gentlemates roster was Juicy, Eugen, and Seiko. At one point, it was Juicy, Seiko, and Radosin. Neither of those rosters honestly ended up doing anything. I don't know why. For whatever reason, they just weren't that phenomenal. Obviously, the Seiko, Eugen, and Juicy team did make the Raleigh Major, and they did look good. But there was just never anything. They just never seemed dangerous. They never seemed like, oh, this team's gonna win like something. Like, it just wasn't that crazy. Even though I do think Juicy, Seiko, and Eugen are incredible players, that was a very strong roster. I just think that Archie, Nass, and Oski, I mean, on paper, it's impossible for me to say that it's not a better roster. Like, it just straight up on paper is a better roster. Nass and Oski found their own at Worlds last season. Oski's always been good. I don't know why I ever include Oski with that. It's just because they were a duo last season on NIP. But I do think Nass has finally found his footing in RLCS. He's been looking good. I think that Nass and Oski are going to remain an incredibly talented duo, and I think that Oski and Archie being back together is going to be very good. I think Archie's incredibly underrated. I just think this is a really high firepower team. I think they play defense well. I think they do everything well. I think it's an all-around upgrade from last season's Gentlemates roster, so I have them here. Anyway, moving on to the top dogs now on this list. Number 2. Twisted Minds. We have Monkey Moon, Nupo, and TRK 511. My main reasoning, on paper, this roster upgraded in almost every way possible. Let's talk about that really quick. So you had Rise, Nupo, and Atomic last season. I would say Monkey Moon in for Atomic. That's an upgrade. TRK in for Rise. That's an upgrade. Yes, Atomic and Rise are very good players, but like Monkey Moon and TRK, man, S tier when they're playing well. Monkey Moon, maybe more like A tier these days, but TRK and Nupo, man, they're S tier. This is just a super, super, super good roster, man. I see this roster on paper. I could see this being the best team in the world next season. Like, I genuinely could. Wouldn't bet on it right now, but I do think it's possible. But anyway, I do think TRK is an upgrade from Rise and Monkey Moon is an upgrade from Atomic. Just said that. This should be one of the best teams in the world next season. Kind of just said that too. When comparing this Twisted roster to last season's Twisted roster, I think it is clearly an upgrade. Change rating, upgrade. Now we're going to move on to number 1, and this is the roster that I think upgraded the most from 2025 RLCS to 2026 RLCS. And that team is Shopify Rebellion. You're gonna have to hear me out here. I know that might sound crazy to some of you guys, but just think about last season's Shopify roster compared to this one. No offense to that old Shopify roster, but this in every way is an upgrade, and this is the best roster that the organization of Shopify Rebellion as a whole has ever seen. By far, not even close. No offense to the other rosters they've had, but this is the best roster they've ever had. But anyway, number 1, we have Shopify Rebellion. This is First Killer Kofor and LJ. My main reasoning, last season, Shopify made one LAN event. Not to discredit it, but it was also only thanks to the LCQ. If the LCQ didn't exist, no Shopify at LAN last season. And I know that obviously winning the LCQ is a big thing to do. It's a good thing that they did that. It's not an easy thing to do. But anyway, this new Shopify roster is simply the best Shopify roster ever. Shopify has never had a roster better than this. And I'm going to call them a lock to make majors out of NA. In terms of team roster upgrades, this one is hard to beat. This was a massive upgrade for Shopify. I think the old Shopify players were great, just not to the extent of this new Shopify roster, and there is no shame in that. Last season, FK and LJ were great together, and I think Kofor will just make them even better. Change rating, upgrade. And yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about this one, but at least when I look at the 2025 Shopify Rebellion season and their rosters, and I look at the 2026 Shopify Rebellion roster, easily the biggest upgrade on paper to me. I don't know how you guys see it, but that is how I see it. And now guys, moving on to the last slide. Thank you for watching, subscribe. And also guys, before I end the video, I just want to say down in the comments, definitely let me know what you think about my list here. Which teams do you think upgraded the most from the 2025 to 2026 season? Which teams do you think side graded, downgraded, all the kind of stuff I talked about in today's video? Feel free to let me know down in the comments. I genuinely do love hearing from you guys down in the comments on your takes, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, feel free to let me know down in the comments which rosters you think upgraded, side graded, or downgraded from 2025 to 2026 RLCS. And also guys, I know I say this randomly, but I am in college currently, so I have no idea what my upload schedule will look like. I don't know if I'll have a video next weekend or 2 weekends from now, 3 weekends from now, once a month. But I do obviously want to continue making videos every weekend. I love making videos. Like, I truly do want to make a video every weekend. I just don't know if I'll be able to. It just depends. I just want to let you guys know that. But seriously, just thank you so much for all the support lately on the RLCS videos. It's been incredible. Seriously, like the comments you guys have been leaving me, the support you guys have been showing me, the love you guys have been showing the RLCS videos in general, it really does just mean so much to me, man. Thank you. And I hope things are going well for you guys right now in life. I hope you guys are all happy and everything is just good. And yeah, like I was saying, guys, I hope to be consistent with my videos. I hope to make a video like at least once a week. But like I was saying, it could be random. Who knows? I am in college currently. But yeah, I just want to let you guys know about that stuff. And yeah, guys, just once again, thank you so much for all the support on the videos lately. It really does mean the world. And I just hope you guys have been doing well. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.